In this video I'm going to show how to change a skybox. In particular we're going to be dealing with the situation where we have lots of skyboxes and we want to change through them both in order, like one skybox after the other going through the array in numerical order, and the second scenario is where we choose our skybox randomly from the skyboxes that we have in our array. Okay, good. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a skybox, and I've created 3 here already. Okay, if you don't know how to create a skybox, it's a material. Okay, and then you can come up here and you can choose either mobile skybox, which is a 6-sided cube, and you need to put your skybox into here. You need to load those in. Okay, or you can use a regular skybox here. There's 3 options. You've got 6-sided. We can go with that for this example. Okay, but you can do any of them. Alright, and again you need to load them in. Okay, so to save time I've already done that, and we have a grey skybox, okay, and we have a bluish grey skybox, and we have a dark blue skybox. Okay, so now we need to get these to change. Now the first example I'm going to give is by using a button. Okay, so we can go create UI and button, and if we just reset this button, okay, and put it into the top corner of our screen here so that we can see it more easily, and we'll rename it to change skybox button. Change skybox button. Okay, and for the text for this we'll change this, and we'll just type change skybox. Okay, good. Okay, so now we need to get this button to work. Okay, and in order to do that we're going to need some script, but we need somewhere to keep this script, so we create an empty game object, and we can call this skybox button manager. Okay, and just reset. Okay, and on this we're going to attach the script called Skybox Changer. Okay, and so you need to create a new C script here, and you can rename it to Skybox Changer, and we're going to have a look at that now. Okay, so this is the script Skybox Changer, and you can take screenshots of this, and I'm going to go through it and undouble it as we go through. Okay, but first of all we're interested in the situation where we have a number of skyboxes, and we are going to press a button and it's going to move through the array of skyboxes, okay, one after the other. Alright, good. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create an array of skyboxes. Now as you know, skybox is a material, so you need a public material with these here to create an array of skyboxes. Okay, next thing you need is a counter, okay, which we're going to use a counter to count our way through the array. Okay, and I've called this skybox counter, and I've set its value to 0 because 0 is the first number in the array. Okay, good. And also here I have the current skybox number, and I've set that to 0, which is again the first number in the array. Okay, in start here we need to get the skybox. We need to access the skybox. So we go to render settings.skybox, and then we're going to set our skybox from this array, and we're going to use the current skybox number, which is 0. So at the start of the game, we're going to display the skybox from the skyboxes array number 0. Okay, good. Now this is interesting because it means that if you have 10 skyboxes, you don't need to start on the first one. You can start on whichever number you wish. Okay, good. But I'm going to assume here that you're going to start at 0. Okay, at the start. Good. So here we have a public function which we're going to connect to our button, and it's called change skybox. And all this does is it goes through the array, okay, and it changes the skybox number. It increases it by 1 every time we use this function. Okay. Now remember that this counter, okay, if you change this value here to 1, you need to change this to value 1 as well for the counter to work correctly. Alright, but let's assume we're starting our first skybox in the array, so it's 0 and it's 0. Okay, good. So we start off at the start by displaying the first skybox in our array. Then when we activate this function using our button that we've just made, we're going to increase the skybox counter by 1, and if this counter is greater than or equal to the number of skyboxes in our array, then we're going to reset it back to 0. Okay. If it's not, then what we're going to do is we're going to display the skybox from the array with this skybox counter number. Okay, good. So make sure it's saved, and over here back in the editor we are going to connect this script which is attached to our Skybox Manager by dragging it onto it here, and by adding the number of skyboxes that we have. I have 3. I'll just drag those in there. Okay. Okay, I've got 3. You could have 20. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's up to you. But I'm just going to use 3 in this example. Good. And then here we go to our button, and here we go on click add. We drag in our manager, Skybox Manager, and then we open that up, look for the script, and we're going to go for this one here, this function change skybox. Okay, so this button now is joined to that script which is attached to this manager. So let's have a look if we press play and see what happens. Okay, so we press play and the sky is grey. Okay, and the reason is because the skybox 1 is grey, so that's correct. And also in our script we told it to display skybox number 0. Okay, and our counter is set to 0. Alright, so when we click the button again, the counter will go to 1. Okay, and here let's have a look. So if we click again, light blue and dark blue. Okay, okay, so you can see that working. Good. Okay, so second example is we're going to choose a skybox randomly. Okay, using a button. So we can go right click and duplicate this button, and we'll call it change skybox random. button. Okay, and we'll just move it over to the other corner of the screen. And we will come back into our script and we will have a look at the second piece of script. Okay, so at the top here we have another integer which is called random skybox number is 0. Okay, so this skybox counter is for the one which is working through the array numerically, like 0, 1, 2, etc. Okay, these ones here we're using the current skybox number again, as we did here at the start. Okay, except this time we're going to produce a random number to choose our skybox instead. Okay, instead of this counter. So if we come down here and have a look, I have a second function which will work with a button, and this is called change skybox random. Okay, so what this does is when we click our button, we are going to choose a random skybox number between the value 0, which is the first one in the array, up to the number of skyboxes in our array. Okay, and then we're going to say if the skybox number, the current skybox number, is not equal to the random number that we've chosen here, then what we're going to do is we're going to change the skybox to this random number, okay, generated here. Okay. However, if the current skybox number is the same as this random number, which is in our else statement here, then run this function again and keep running it until the current skybox number is different to the random skybox number. So we do that, yeah, because we're generating a random number, we don't want that random number to be the same as the number that we already have. Okay, if that happened, then you'd have two. For example, if you had a dark blue skybox and then it chose the number 2 again, which is the value of the dark blue skybox in the array, then you press the button and you see a blue skybox and you see another blue skybox. All right, we want to avoid that. Every time we press the button, we want to see a different color skybox. Okay, so that solves that problem. All right, so let's save that. File save. Okay, and in our new button here, we'll call this change skybox. We'll have to wait here for Mono to update the script. Okay, and we'll change this text to change skybox random. Okay, so also what we need to do is change the function that this button points to. So here we go, Skybox Changer, which is the script, and here we now have changed Skybox random. Okay, as I said, we can access these because they are public. Okay, alright, okay, so if they're not public, they're not going to show up over here. Okay, so let's press play and see what happens. So we press play and we're going to do the random one now. So we started off with the grey again because we told it to start with the grey, and then we go, you can see here it's going dark blue, light blue, grey. You can see there that's random. Okay, so just to show you again, change skybox, it's grey, light blue, dark blue, grey, light blue, dark blue. The random one is dark blue, light blue, dark blue, light blue, grey, dark blue, grey, light blue. Okay, and you can see there that that's clearly working randomly, and we have no errors over here in the console, so that's working correctly. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to show you now another way of doing this. Maybe you don't want to use a button, maybe you want to use a trigger event, alright, something that happens inside the game. Okay, so I have a ground here, which is a quad, just a regular quad, and I've put some material on top of it so that you can see it more easily. And what we're going to do is we're going to create two 3D objects, two cubes. Alright, so one of these cubes can be the player. Okay, and the player, it's got a box collider. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a rigid body to this, so it's physics rigid body, and we just leave that as the standard settings. Alright, so we've got a player with a box collider and a rigid body attached. Good. We'll create another box which will be maybe, for example, can be a doorway. Okay, but we'll call it the trigger. Okay, so this box here, we'll just move it over here a little bit. Okay, maybe put it at 5. Okay, and make it a bit bigger so that we can see it, clearly see that that is different. Okay, and just for identification, we can just here we can give the player this blue color, and the trigger we can give this green color. Okay, so this is our player, and this is our like doorway, or our thing that's going to trigger an event, and that event's going to change this skybox. All right. Again, we can change it in order, like 0, 1, 2, etc., or we can change it randomly. So all we need to do here with our trigger is go to the box collider and make sure that it is set to trigger. Okay, don't need to put a rigid body on this because we already have a rigid body attached to the player, and for these triggers to work, you need to have at least one of those two things that are going to collide into each other have to have a rigid body, and that's why we put the rigid body and put it on the player. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to attach the script that we made, that we were using in the Skybox button manager, the same script here. We're going to attach that to the trigger. Okay, so we come back into the folder here that I've called Skybox, and I just attach my script to it. Okay, same script, and I've got 3 skyboxes, and I'm going to drag each skybox in. Okay, and then we're going to come back into our script, and we're going to need to make that happen. Okay, so for example here, here we have I'm going to undouble this, on trigger enter collider other. Okay, so what we'll do is in the first demonstration we'll say when the player enters the trigger that's on the trigger cube, okay, it's going to run this function change skybox. Okay, so we're expecting it to go from grey to light blue to dark blue, okay, and then back to grey again, and round like that. Okay, so let's save this. Okay, and now just wait for that to update. Okay, and we'll press play and see if it works. So now I'll press play. Okay, not touching those buttons, Alright, we're going to see. So it's worked again. We've got the grey sky up here. Okay, we'll click our player and we'll manually move this player over here and says enter the doorway. Okay, and as you can see, the player entered the doorway and the skybox changed to light blue, then dark blue, then grey, light blue, dark blue. Okay, so that works. All right, that's another way to do it using trigger. Good. Now we may want to do that randomly. Okay, and so again, back in our script, what we can do is say, okay, instead of on trigger enter change the skybox, use the skybox function. We can use the change skybox random function instead, this one. Okay, so it'll change it randomly. So let's go file, save, and again we need to wait for this to update, and then we'll have a look. So now we're expecting when our player enters this trigger, this cube, with this script attached to it. Again, it's grey sky, that's correct. We're going to move over there. Okay, dark blue, that's random. That's correct. This is random, you see. So that's a second way of doing it. Okay, and as you can see, that's random. So all we've done is change the function that's used when the trigger, the on trigger enter is activated. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to show you a third way of doing this, and this is using something called OnMouseDown. Okay, and OnMouseDown basically means that we can click that green cube here, which is the trigger. I call it the trigger cube, and that will change the color or change the skybox. Okay, and we can do that both going through the array, like 0, 1, 2, etc., or we can do it randomly as we've done with the previous examples. Okay, so back into our script here, I've got here a function called void OnMouseDown. Okay, and I'll show you here that this works. We'll use the change skybox function. Alright, so it'll work through it using the counter. If we need to save that again. Okay, so we're here now using OnMouseDown, and what that will do is it will means that this OnMouseDown means that we can use our mouse, and when we click down on this it will work in the editor. And OnMouseDown is quite interesting because it works on some mobile devices. Okay, so that means that you can kind of use it as like on touch. Yeah, there's a Unity recommends that you use a different function. Okay, but OnMouseDown was, or get touch. Okay, sorry. OnMouseDown, yes, it does work, but they prefer you to use input get touch. All right, but for us here, because we're just using this editor, it's nice to be able to use this mouse. All right, so if you want to do the stuff where you've got the touch screen, then please look at the Unity scripting API, which is input get touch, and it'll tell you all about it. Okay, good. So we're using OnMouseDown, and we've saved that, and we hit play. Okay, and now when we click this button, click this green cube, which is our trigger, it's got our script attached to it. It changes grey, light blue, dark blue. There we go. So it's doing exactly the same as what this button's doing. Okay, and this cube as well. All right, so it's a third way of doing it. And last thing we can do here, again, if you don't want to if you want a random one, then you quite simply change which function it uses when you go on mouse down. Okay, so again, save that. Okay, and wait for it to update. And we will see now that this works in the same way as the other methods. Okay, so here we're expecting, on clicking this, we have a grey sky at the start. That's correct. Okay, we've got blue. Yep, you can see that's random. Okay, so this is not random, so this is grey, light blue, dark blue, and this is random, grey, dark blue, grey. See, and again, no errors in the console. Good. Okay, so that all works really well. Now that I've undoubled this lot, you can take a screenshot and yeah, job done. Okay, alright, thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Please subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, then please give it the thumbs up. Okay, and thank you.